Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun elevator Kollel, and I'm trying to get us back into our second shiur on the Rashash. Now, right now, I just don't have a better drawing from the books that I have handy. I could make some drawings, and maybe I will, but right now, let's use this. Now, this is a picture of the 10 spheros, the Olam Atzilus. And understand that Olam Atzilus is the basis of reality as we could possibly be able to understand it. And the Rav is continuing to give us different kinds of insights. Now, Keter, the 10 spheros of Olam Atzilus are normally called Chochma Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevurot, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and Malchus. Where's my little Malchus down here? There it is. Well, I just can't get it all in there. But let me try raising this up a little bit. So, remember, this is the teacher's camera. I just really learning how to do this. Now, the reason why Kesser is not really counted is because Kesser is not from this parts of. Kesef is really what we call the Tani, or the lower half of the Tiferes, Netzach, Yesod, and Yesod of Bina, or the parts of that's Panimi to Zeranpin. So it's really not part of the parts of. The Mochin are Chochma, Bina, and Das. So you could see this, obviously, this drawing in a more solid, with a more solid looking Das. Now the point there that we were making in this little shiur that I'm trying to put together on the Rashash is that Chochma and Bina, they pour their influences into Das. They triangulate Das. The word that the Rav uses there, Machriya B'neihem, they balance them. So what happens is Chochma is the beginning of the flow of Chesed, and Bina is the beginning of the flow of gevurot. They both come into Das, and in this Das, they live there side by side. And there's arguments, I think there's differences of opinion about the Das is really inside of the extension of the Yesod of Bina. So it's a narrow place. So there's going to be an escape out of that Das, and that escape is going to fill up the other 7 spheros. So let's see how this works. And so let me explain to you that from Chochma come 5 chasadim. From Bina comes 5 gevuros. Now it's true that Chochma itself basically has chasadim and gevuros, but what we're concerned about here is growing Zeranpin and the Nukva de Zeranpin and Malchus. Malchus is grown out of gevuros, the 5 gevuros. And Zeranpin is grown out of the 5 chasadim. Now let me go over and see if I have another drawing. Maybe there's 2 drawings here. Just give me a chance before we get back into the Akeda, which we're kind of trying to use as a springboard to give us some ideas. One more page, hopefully. Coming up. This is it. I just want you to look at what they look like. Now, this is really what we're getting into, is this whole drawing right here is really something to understand the Rashash, in my opinion, or the way that I want to do it, I want to learn it for myself, is through these pictures. Now, there are instructions up above, but if you can't recognize the pictures, then we're going to have trouble being able to understand what's going on up above. So if you look at it closely, and maybe I can bring this down now and push this up. So let's just, rather than, this is part of a sequence that exists in the Rashash Siddur, but let's just call this, it's called the Klalos of the Hey Chasadim, but let's just call these the 5 Chasadim. So the Chasadim, we said there are 5, and this is what they look like. They're Yud-Kei Vav-Keis. So here's one with this kind of nikud. Here's one with that. And then you go and you see they're all menukad differently. Now that's what the chasadim look like. Now you go over to the other side, and this is what the gevuros look like. Well, they have slightly different arrangement of letters. But basically they're just the reverse of what you see over there. Instead of chesed is here, and chesed is in that corner, and then going around, but tiferes is always in the middle. So let's just take a minute and look at this. Okay, I'll say it out another time. The klalos of the chasadim, which appear, like I say, in a sequence from the Rashash Siddur, that's showing us how that we are building up Malchus really ultimately end. Here the chasadim here are chesed, gevurot, tiferes, netzach, and hod. Moving over to the gevuros, they're the opposite. It starts with hod, it goes to netzach, then it goes to tiferes, then it goes to gevurot, and then finally to chesed again. So we see that they're actually, the chasadim and the gevuros are polar opposites, just like we understand that chesed is white, and it's more, and it's water, and it's good, and it grows things. So the gevuros are something else. They're not white. They're really red. And so what they do is they shape things, and they make things, and they squeeze things. Squeezing, have to understand. Sometimes it's not so pleasant, but it's creative. The concept here and what's going on the Akedah is to make all of this go together. So let me bring you another thing that I got from the Matak Midrash. I'm going to pull back a little bit because now it needs the whole page. And so this is another little piece and another little idea. And it says, Nikud Havayos Shala Eser Spheros. So without using das, a das is an interesting idea, and we don't have it in this. And I'm looking for good drawings. I may have to make my own, as I really don't know. Just starting out, so please bear with me. Keser is menukad like this. All four letters of the Yud, K, Vav, K have a komatz below them, a komets. Then you go to the right line. So that's the triangle of the Rosh. You go to the right line, which is Chochmah. Chochmah is open. So it's like this, a patach under each one of the four letters. And this is recognizable in the Kabbalistic Siddurim, and particularly the Siddur of the Rashash. Everybody holds by this. So Bina, Tseris, Tseri, 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 going over to Chesed. Now we got to Bina, right? So we're going to the right shoulder. That's going to be a segel. 4 segels. Then you're going to go to Gevurot. It's going to be a shval. 4 shvals. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go to Tiferes. Tiferes is going to be a cholam. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. They're solid and they're always continuous. So that if you see a word which has different kinds of nikudot, and particularly if you see the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, then you see that it actually refers to spheros, written with different nikudot. So here we have Netzach, it's a chirik. And we have Hod, there's a kubutz. And then you come to Yesod. Yesod, now here's the rule, as stated, as I've said before in other shiurim, but you can see it now. Yesod is split. It has extra letters. So it looks like this, and this is what Yesod always looks like. It's the, what is this? This is called the, what is this called? It's a cholam. It's a kubutz, I forget. So maybe somebody will tell me what it is. And then finally Malchus, over here he shows Malchus without Nikud, but the way that we see normally in our Siddur, the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, when it doesn't have any changes to it, it does have a Menukud, which is the one like O-Ah, we call it O-Ah. So this is basically the Menukad. I have to think for a minute and come back with, I know that this is a, let's see, it's not a kubutz, it's an U sound, it's not a shuruk. It's a shuruk vov. That's what they call it. They call it a shuruk vov. So that's the U sound in the Yesod, and going down to Malchus, and Malchus is empty. And that's what he's really showing you in this drawing. But Malchus also has Nikudot. And so now we have a little bit of an idea what we're looking at when we come over and we look, let's look at the chasadim again. So now you can count it up, and you can see, if you use the second drawing that I brought over here, you could see that this, you start with, here is the segel, shva, cholam, hirik, kubutz. Then over here you have to go backwards, kubutz, hirik, cholam, shva, chesed. So we're trying to say that, let's say that they're revolving, or they're moving, or they're movable. We want to try to put them together, and that's what the Akeda is really all about. Now, there is a middle section here. It's also important to our idea, but it's a much deeper idea, and it's contained later in the Otzvos Chaim. See if we could touch on it, start to help us out. This is Baruch Fleischman with the second shir on the Rashash Siddur. Thank you for listening.